Okay, so I think the timing with Disney Plus streaming was the perfect time because we can reach a global audience, and I think Disney was looking for something groundbreaking and very, very different, and we had that hybrid, the scripted versus, not versus, the scripted intertwined with reality, and also because Disney has all these wonderful, fantastical films and storylines, it just felt like the perfect fit. And the timing was right because Disney made their announcement, and we were one of the first shows, their biggest show, their tentpole show that they ordered from us. So
congratulations.
Yeah, it was a really big deal. So we were so excited that it's on Disney Plus.
Is there an aspect to it featuring kids versus adults, which is what the original show was, that you think changes how it'll be received, or how, as you, as the executive producers working on it, felt about it?
Yeah. There is a difference having teenagers versus 20-something-year-olds. There's not such a big age difference because these teenagers, I don't know if you've seen 13-year-olds these days, but they look like they're 18.
Yeah.
They are 13 to 16. You do see them mature and grow. There's such what I love about this series, and because we have teenagers, you really see genuine and pure teenagers at a time in their lives when they might be feeling, the hormones are raging, right? So insecure or wondering about how they fit into the world and who I am and what is this all about. And so not only do we have a great storyline for them to interact and play in, but we see a lot of growth on their part. I'm not saying that we didn't see growth in the other series,
right,
but there's such a change in kids when they need to see who they are and become something that they don't know yet who they're becoming. So when you're young like they are, a lot of them come into this was like, I'm shy or I don't know, and then all of a sudden you see them building confidence and growing, and every episode, there are challenges that have their mental or their strength, not physical strength, like some of them a little bit, but there's different challenges that will touch on each of their strengths and weaknesses, and you can see them trying, whether they fail or succeed, there are no eliminations. So they continue to have this experience throughout the whole series where there is growth and there is inspiration for viewers to see what's happening. And it's like, wow, I never thought that person would step forward and be the one taking charge. Because maybe in the beginning of the series, they were like the wallflower. And all of a sudden, this person evolves and this person blooms. And all of a sudden, they're just like, okay, I got this. We're all supportive of each other. There's no nastiness between the kids because they're all going for a common goal. So they all come together and support each other. Yeah. I hope I answered that. A little long-winded.
When you're making the decision, because I love that it's collaborative.
Yeah.
And I'm not super familiar with the original if it was the same way. Like, why did you make that choice versus making it similar to like Amazing Race, where it's like everyone's on their own path?
Yeah. Well, because we took these, the storyline is we took these kids that are pure of heart, these teenagers, and they were called upon by the fates to save every realm because they're pure of heart, and you'll find out more exactly why they were chosen. But each teenager, and within the casting, was chosen because of their qualities, whatever their wonderful they all had wonderful qualities, different. Some of them had similar, some of them very different from each other, and they all come from all walks of life across the country. And by bringing them together, we really we didn't want anybody to be eliminated because we wanted each of them to have that personal growth and an experience that was very fulfilling for each of them. When you get eliminated, it's pretty upsetting, and you don't get to experience the whole show, the whole experience, even on The Amazing Race. It's like, oh God, we're out. It's the first episode. They don't even care about on The Amazing Race. They don't care about winning the money. They just want to see where we're going next. What are we going to do? And that's what we wanted for these kids. We wanted them to be able to experience every single challenge, every single creature, because the story is so good and there's so many exciting things to see. We didn't want any of them to miss it. So we did make it a non-elimination. And because of that, that group became very strong, and there is a common goal that they're fighting for.
I have a 14-year-old, and I saw on the website the old series, they called them banished when they were like thrown off the show. I was like, if I told my 14-year-old he was banished,
that's
I
almost
would see
not,
it for a week. I mean,
not even PC anymore. Hey, you can't say banished. Yeah. Yeah, so
Exactly.
they all stick around.
You
Yeah.
talk about for the competitions that it was really based around like the storyline. Are they more psychological? Are they more physical? Or are they a combination of both?
It is a combination. So again, working towards what the kids strengthen. Every kid had their own thing. One kid might be a great gamer. One kid might be, great at puzzles, or one of them is very dexterous. So all the challenges will hit on each one of their strengths. And then we found out that the other kids who we didn't know something about, all of a sudden they realized they were good at something that they were like, I didn't know I was so coordinated and well balanced. I didn't know I could do this. And yes, the challenges are organic to what's happening in the storyline. So it's not like there's the storyline, the actors are talking. It is literally the actors are talking. Maybe say you're all the paladins, you're all the kids, and I'm one of the princesses, right? So I'm just like, okay, that sound, we need to go outside and figure out what it is. I need all of you to grab your gear. We're going to go outside, and we're probably going to have to move this thing. And so it's seamless, meaning that the actors are pushing the storyline, and the kids have to do what they're being told, because they know that they have to bring this from here to point A to point B. And if you do that, then something will happen. So that's the seamless part of it. And there are still challenges because, of course, there are a certain amount of kids and we have to build the challenges. But I think you'll find that they reflect what's happening in the story. Yeah. I hope that's
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you find that because it is unscripted mixed with the scripted, that there was anything that happened that kind of threw off the storyline?
Well, that's the beauty of reality, right? So all of a sudden you have the script that you've written, and we've also brought the actors. One of the things that we did during casting was make sure that they were really good at improv. So just like you're asking me a question, that they were able to answer it in character and know who they are as that character. So if you said, are you married or do you have children, the character would say something, right? I'm not an actor, so I'm not going to I'm not going to tell you what I know. So I have a friend whose name's Sarah Carey.
We're everywhere.
The same exact name.
Is she a redheaded chef from Canada?
She's a redheaded chef.
She's everywhere. If I Google my name, she's who pops up.
Yes, I used to work with her in a restaurant when I was in college. She was a
Amazing.
chef. That's crazy. She's on the East Coast. So anyway, you have a twin out there. What was your question? So what was that?
Sorry.
It's okay.
If the story changed.
Oh, yes. So what happened, there were some amazing moments where we're all just like, oh my God, that was amazing. It didn't change the storyline, but there might be a moment where one of the contestants, one of the kids, struggled with something, or they didn't complete something, and you feel bad. You let your team down, or whatever you did. So there's a moment where this one, I won't give it away by saying this, but there's two of our contestants talking, and they're sad, and we send in one of our actor asked to be sent in. I want to go talk to them, because there was a bond, there was a connection, a real connection. And she sat down with them, and she had a full-on conversation and built this person up and took the tears away and gave her a reason to think, okay, I didn't do well in this moment, and you didn't do well in this, the two of them, and so, but that's not where it ends. There's so much more you can do, so keep trying, keep going. So it was just a beautiful moment, and they were, both the two of them that were being spoken to, they were like, okay, we got this. Let's get back in there. And they were like, we got this, And then they were like, the fire was lit again. So there were real moments, because we're real people, And so we let them have those moments, those real moments that are really inspiring.
Fans of The Amazing Race know how it shut down the show for over a year because of COVID.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit dealing with kids and COVID and the protocols of keeping everyone safe and how that impacted the quest?
So fun. Yes, Amazing Race got shut down in the middle while we were filming, and then we came back 19 months later. Thank God that season is done, but it was amazing.
Right.
So the kids, so what we might have done from the first one, they all lived in the castle, and we would have wanted that to happen, but because of COVID, we had to be very careful where everybody was sleeping, where everybody was staying, and of course, because they're teenagers, the parents were there to make sure, because they're minors. They were really amazing, because everybody knew what we were going into. And for them, it was better to be in this amazing fantasy world on a castle for all these hours every day, roaming free without their masks on, because everybody was tested, and we're like, okay, we're going to go now, rather than being in their homes and not going to school every day or not going out with their friends. So because everybody was tested all the time, they actually had some normal time. It was better for them, better for all of us to be at this castle. It actually felt fairly normal, aside from we had our masks on around them. But I think it was good mentally for everybody to be there, rather than being locked up at home in our pandemic bubbles. So it was good. They actually made friends. And they did homework together, and they got to do things together. Yeah. So
awesome.
it was
great.
really good. It was good for them. It was good for all of us.
It was so obvious on the panel how passionate you guys are all, like, and just personally invested in this. Is there something like that surprised you, like a personal takeaway that you weren't expecting, or something you're going to bring with you to your next project?
You know, I just really fell in love with all these kids because I got to know them. When you do casting, you see 3-minute video, and then you can we interview them and get to know them. But actually meeting them and learning about them, I love working with teenagers. It was really special. And what was my takeaway? I just like that it's an inspirational show that your whole family can watch. I don't know, I have a 13-year-old, and what's happened during the pandemic is she goes in her room and she's watching her screen, and we've all kind of go off into our, because I'm working from home. This is something where it's going to bring your family together. You're going to want to watch this with your parents, even if you don't have children. You're going to want to watch the show if you love fantasy. So I just think that it's like Jane said earlier, it's an outlet that's positive and inspirational amongst all the negative things that are happening in the world right now. So it's a feel-good show that's exciting to watch because you don't know what's coming around the corner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Expression of ages and different. We were just talking about like how great would this be to do with your dad, right? Like 'cause we're in a generation now where we all grew up with Star Wars and Star Trek and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. When you think about Harry Potter's 20 years old, like, that's mind blowing. So we're passing all of that to our kids. So how cool would it be to now have that season where parents are involved because they love fantasy as well. So for me, had I had that and been able to have that experience as a young kid, I grew up in a very tiny little town. I was, I keep saying it was like 2 cows and a stoplight, but I grew up in Rhode Island. Not a lot of like support groups for, in the 80s for young gay kids. So for me, I sort of immersed myself into the world of fantasy, and what I loved were movies and books and reading and getting into these creative worlds. But I'm also an artist. So all of that creativity to be able to come out, that's why I love coming to like WonderCon and Comic-Con, because that you see the creativity of everybody. And this world, when it's funny, we talked about this over the past decade. When I was a kid, it was being a nerd. Now it's being everybody. Because we, as the original nerds, opened that door for everybody to come out and be like, oh shit, I like this too. We won. Right, we won. Oh my god, I'm making that t-shirt. Still making that t-shirt.
Love it.
That's so cool. When it comes to creating the storyline and the creatures, how involved were you guys? And like, how did you even narrow it down with such a vast fantasy land of everything you could pull from?
Well, we worked with our writers, and they created with us the story and everything, and where we thought we had Spectral Motions, this incredible creature. What are they called?
Special Motion, it's Mike Elizalde and his wife, and they
Do
create,
Guillermo del Toro's movies.
did Hellboy, they do The Monster and Stranger Things. They're just bonkers good.
So we, with our storyline, comes up with each episode of like, okay, which creature could we create? And we all throw in ideas. Okay, let's have a witch here, an old hag here, some dragon type person here. We just liked it. And Mike Elizalde from Spectral Motion just said, oh, how about this? Someone with big antlers and this and that. And that was for me, the most fun part was going to his shop and seeing the designs and work that they've done. It was just, do you like the eyeball doing this, or pull out something? It was like, oh yeah, it's really great. But
For the drag yard, we're like, maybe some more clothing on the drag yard. Because at first he was like naked. I was like, Disney Plus, let's put some clothes on.
yeah,
The quest after dark.
The quest behind the
There's
scenes after
there's
dark.
one creature that's dressed that it, like he's going to the Met Gala.
That was Johnny Woodchick's fabulous costume. Yeah, it's a really good costume.
So is it a big mix of practical and CGI, or is it all practical?
It's all
CGI is well after we all left, so the kids were never part of it. They never in front of a green screen, anything.
Right.
It was just additive in the end.
I think that adds so
That would
much.
suck, right? Like,
Right.
your kid, we tell you you're going to go into a cool world, and then we're like, okay, stand up against that green screen and scream. Like, it's just,
Right,
it
here's
had
a tennis
to
ball.
happen to
This
them.
is a monster dragon.
Right. We had lasers and lights. There's a moment where, I won't give anything away, but there's a moment where they have to turn something on, shall we say, and that sounds terrible. They have to turn on a device, and it had to happen in front of them so they could see that it goes on and be cool enough, and then we would enhance it in post, but it happened to them. So everything that you see was happening to them. All of our monsters are head to toe, every inch covered. So you never had like a monster that was just from the waist up because it was too expensive. Every monster is done, every costume on the monster is
Every detail.
every single detail, like down to like getting them as wet as possible before the kids would get there, because we would shoot for like an hour and 20 minutes, right? So they've got to stay wet and look like they're a reptile, and that they're sweating, and God bless the actors in those costumes, because they just have to stay in the moment, and the kids throw real questions at them or yell at them, and it's awesome.
That's so cool.
There are like a lot of constraints with working with children in the industry, as you were saying, an hour and 20 minutes of filming. Was it difficult to keep those children in character and like where it would just snap back?
Yeah, we're all kids, right?
I think they loved it. They couldn't wait to get out of school because we were shooting during the school year and lunch. They couldn't wait to get back in. And you saw the minute they stepped on, and whether one of our actors were with them, they and I don't want to say turned it on because that's like they were acting. They instantly put the switch. They're on in this world. And they acted naturally, but they were in this world.
It's a real life Oculus, right? Like, you take it off to go eat dinner and you put it back on again, you're right back into your character. So
Yeah, that's
I feel like it's like the reverse of VR. Like you guys actually put them in real world,
right,
as opposed to
they can
virtual,
actually
which is
really
amazing.
touch things and
Yeah.
not kind of try to make the hand touch the thing.
Yeah, going to dinner is like the boring part.
Right, exactly.
And again, the environment, as I said in the panel, you were there as producers. I was like, I'm a history person, not a big fantasy person, but I was like, oh my God, you could just picture yourself back in the medieval times, back in that castle, and that was easy for them, and we all felt the same way.
Coming from a Queer Eye background and very reality television, was it an adjustment for you guys as producers having the scripted and unscripted component to
We've
it?
both done scripted pieces.
I started in scripted movies, so I was used to that. I missed it. We went into reality because I had made a lot of scripted movies with my partner David Collins, who's one of the producers as well. But we never made a lot of money. We made a lot of awards. We got a lot of awards, but we never really made cash. And we just said, let's get into this reality TV thing. And what was our first Up and Bat? The original one.
It's a pretty good at bat. I mean,
Yeah. And then to go up and bat again and do it for a second time was bonkers. And I think we approach most of our unscripted like scripted. Like, our shows are more cinematic. They're shot with different cameras. They have different looks to them, and we tell different stories. So I think it's a perfect blend of worlds we've all been in.
They teased in the panel that the unscripted and scripted stories are going to sort of come to a head at a point and impact each other at a certain
It's
point
a
in the series.
twist.
Okay.
There's a
Could you
twist.
expand more on what you
Nope.
mean by
It
no?
wouldn't be
Fair.
It wouldn't be a twist if I did that.
Can you guys talk a little bit more about how you found that location? And like once you got there, like were they on board right away, or did you gotta be like, can you tell us a
Let's
bit
not
more?
tell that whole
Let's
story.
not tell. No, originally, as I said, we were planning to go to Vienna, Austria. And one of the hardest parts, and I had spent long amounts of time, months, a lot of real castles, if they're owned by some historical trust or organization, I talked to a location manager from Game of Thrones, and we were talking about a castle. He said, it took me 6 weeks to get permission to shoot one day in one room. You know, and in Vienna, we stumbled upon Berg Kreuzenstein.
Yeah, good luck.
It was owned by one guy. One guy. It's been in his family for hundreds of years.
The Count.
Owned it. The Count. The Count owned it. And he made all of this. They had tour groups. So I said, can you cancel your? Yep. So we were all set. We hired our Austrian team. We had our wardrobe people. We had everybody lined up, and then COVID. So I went to, I had spent previously looking at castles around the United States. There were no real castles, you know. There were mansions that looked like castles. There were schools of follies, they call them, of just fake castles. We saw pictures of one in Texas. Rob said, I love that castle. And
it was horrible. No, I shouldn't say it was horrible. It was a lovely place. But I knew we could do something with it because of the team we had. But it wasn't a castle.
It wasn't a castle.
We don't have castles in the United States.
There are no. And this is
We have White Castle.
Right. But this is the one, but they were a winery. So, active winery, very popular winery, Castello de Amoroso and Calistoga, right in Napa Valley. And because of COVID, they shut down. And they said, when we were ready to go again, they said, oh, we want to shoot in July. They're like, come, we're closed. We're completely closed.
They're awesome.
But then we just couldn't coordinate in time. So then we had to push a few months and work with them that they opened on weekends. We pretty much owned the place from Monday through Friday. On the weekends, we shot Saturdays, but we didn't go inside the castle where people were drinking. We were out in the woods.
Drinking. Come on. Producers are like, oh, yeah, it looks like a castle and it's a vineyard. Come on. It was wonderful.
But we negotiated and worked with the owner. Again, and it was similar to Vienna. One guy owned it. No boards, no historical trust.
He literally went to the most amazing extent to get this to look real. Like, he brought bricks in from Italy. Like, everything was made. And you went downstairs and, like, the pendentives, like, the way the ceiling was held up, it was like you're in catacombs in France or in Italy or Austria. It was amazing.
Yeah, we had to deal with Napa Valley, who had, at that time, had really strong COVID and events. And we just had to really, we're going to be the strictest COVID procedures ever between Disney plus all the unions. And I said, we're going to employ a lot of people. And I think nothing to do with the story, but one of my favorite, our caterer, came up to me one day and said, you saved our company. She said, we were going under, but I had 500 meals a day for 6 weeks. You saved me from going under.
So not one positive COVID test.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's amazing.